Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October the 2nd, 2022. It's a Sunday for me. Hopefully, you're having a good one wherever you're listening to this. Let's see. Personal news stuff. Not too much to update. Food corner, though. Let's see. I actually had McDonald's breakfast today. And they got the pumpkin pie, or yeah, pumpkin and cream pie. I don't know, such a weird thing to say. But yeah, it's like a more or less, pumpkin pie flavoring, and they got cream, and they just put it in a little pie form. So it was pretty good. I overall enjoy it. Would eat it again. I don't know if it's my favorite of all of them. I think the blueberry one is still my favorite. But anything else in terms of food? I did get some more like Japanese food from the little mall I go to do some stuff. Very good. I'm more or less. I think I'm gonna try to replicate that again because I always like eating it because it's just more or less just chicken and rice, and that's very nice. But we can get into it. Let's see. For starters, I wanted to talk about Hurricane Ian. More or less hit Florida. That was like obviously the big talking point. Also hit Cuba too. So I wanted to talk about those things. Oh yeah, as well as Florida, it also hit the Carolinas. Landed in South Carolina and did a good amount of damage in North Carolina. But we can start with the title. Also, I'm gonna definitely let you know there's some tangents because I want to kind of cover some other things that aren't necessarily like articles I have lined up. But yeah, got this from ABC7. At least 72 deaths reported after Hurricane Ian slams into Florida, and 4 dead in North Carolina. Now, I'm not sure if there were any deaths in South Carolina where the hurricane like re-entered later on after it ran through Cuba into Florida, and then came back, re-energized itself. At this point, it's like I think at a post like tropical storm cyclone thing. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I mean, yeah, it's done a lot of damage, and I think initially people thought like meteorologists were like, oh, it might miss the area, it's not going to do as much damage, and then it changed directions, something like that, and then it became like a big deal in the middle of the week. Now there was a lot of talk of evacuations, and this was a big deal because this is going to be a big storm, and Florida's not new to that. The people of Florida, they are used to this kind of situation, but where it was going to hit and the severity was just a really big combination that really had people really worried. Like, this is going to hit some like low-lying areas. Essentially, if these areas get hit with this kind of rainfall and kind of damage, I mean, it's going to flood like the whole area. People are going to die. And sadly, that is what happened. Initially throughout the week, they didn't really even want to come out with numbers because they obviously they weren't sure, they weren't able to get into the areas. But now they have. It's definitely a really sad, stark reminder of how nature can just come through and wipe everything out. I was listening to some stories on the daily where they were just talking to men and women, Floridians, and they were just saying like, look, I definitely took a calculated risk, I know, but I thought I had everything set, ready to go, and then next thing you know, I have my backup generator up, yeah, but then the water's creeping up onto my street, it's in my shed, next thing I know, it's in my house, and I had to leave. And you just hear about all these stories, and it's crazy too, because I think something that really kind of hit me in an eerie way was hearing the stories of a lot of the elderly people. I mean, because Florida is just filled with a lot of people like that, and there's kind of two kinds of Floridians. There's the Floridians who are native to it, so they've grown up with this all their life, it's very common. And then there's also the, what is it, I forget what they're called. um it's like snowbirds. I think they're called snowbirds. But essentially, they're people who have moved from, up north, and they've come to Florida. They're doing their retirement thing. And so this is an adjustment for them. They might have only had one or two storms, and maybe they weren't so bad, but this is a big one. Honestly, one of the biggest storms that I think Florida has had. So it definitely caught everyone flat-footed, whether you were used to this or not, and did a lot of damage. I mean, they're still calculating and totaling up the damage. Let's see. We can read a little bit from this article. Deaths span multiple counties in Florida, including 35 in Lee County, 23 in Charlotte County, 5 in Volusia County, 3 each in Collier County and Sarasota counties, and 1 in each Lake, Hendry, and Manatee counties. So that's a lot, spanning a lot of counties, a lot of areas. Something, though, I did want to talk about on the tangent before I kind of move on to, I guess, like the Cuba part. It's crazy to hear some of these stories from companies, some of the people, like, politicians or whatever who are leading, the counties in terms of, like, the evacuation procedures and stuff. A company that made a lot of waves this week was Postal Mania, I believe. Essentially, they wanted their workers to come and stay in the facility. Apparently, they had a facility that could maintain up against like Category 5 storm, like storm damage, whatever. And they're like, we're actually going to still be open and you should come to work. And, we get that you're scared, but, hey, like, this is probably just going to be blow over. It's probably overhyped. It's no big deal. And it actually was a very big deal. And they're telling people to bring their kids and their pets to work. And everything was just going to be hunky-dory, A-okay. And once again, not to blow it out of proportion. Luckily, with the way the internet moves, the way this went viral, they shut that down. They said, okay, never mind. We're gonna just shut down work. And needless to say, they weren't able to open up and cruise through this like they thought. But it's just crazy that was the thought process. And then also, I don't have the name of the counties. I wasn't able to actually get to it. Been a busy boy. But there were counties in Florida that were even trying to, I guess, hold out. And it's like, you should not be playing around with this. Like, you guys have all done the numbers. It's all well and known. Like, this is going to come. It's going to be a problem. You need to get your people out. You need to do your best. And to, like, try to do the opposite is fucked up. So, something, though, I guess I kind of surprised me. And maybe it's just because I have low expectations. Excuse me. But Ron DeSantis was actually, like, kind of a governor throughout all this. He actually tried to, he accepted the help that was given from the federal government. So that was interesting, I guess, to see. Now, granted, what else are you going to do? Especially when your shit's on the line here and people are dying, like, to hold on the hill, per se, to, like, stand on your, conservative values or whatever the fuck, whatever you're railing Disney about. It will be silly when people are dying, during a hurricane. So good that he was at least sensible enough to, like, do his job. Not to give him too many brownie points or anything like that. But I would say that was something that was very interesting to see. I kind of almost didn't expect it. Let's see. It's more or less what I wanted to cover there. Obviously, there's a lot of stories. Like I said, too, it didn't just hit Florida. It also hit the Carolinas. Ooh, excuse me. In the Carolinas. I don't believe there were any deaths known. Yeah, there was no reported deaths so far, at least as of Saturday, I believe. But in the neighboring North Carolina, 4 storm-related deaths have been reported. Governor Roy Cooper said in a statement on Saturday. 3 involved in vehicle accidents on Friday, with the victims ranging from an age of 22 to 25. Additionally, a 65-year-old man died Saturday from carbon monoxide poisoning after running a generator in his closed garage while the power was out. So that's really sad. Naturally, you're trying to, like, be prepared, equip yourself to the situation, and, it's super sad that something like that happened just because you were trying to do your best to survive, right? In Cuba, though, I didn't really get a death toll of what happened. But a big focus has been about the blackouts post-Hurricane Ian. It moved through on Tuesday and did a lot of damage. And essentially, a lot of Cuba has just been without power. I think they've got maybe like half in Havana, like the capital, but outside of that, it's been really bad. So people have been taking to the streets in their homes, like local areas, and doing like the most peaceful protests that they can. And essentially, what they've kind of resorted to is banging on pots and pans. Actually, let me go ahead and read the title from Reuters. Banging pots, Cubans stage a rare protest over Hurricane Ian blackouts. So that was also from Yahoo News as well. But essentially, they got the details on it there. I didn't hate this article. I feel like it wasn't super slanted or anything like that. They do obviously talk about a little bit how, like, the Communist Party works in Cuba and the situation, and how people, are upset. But I think that's something that is going to happen anywhere, shape, or form. That could happen in a normal, vanilla democracy like America. So hopefully, the situation is better, there with the power. I mean, I can't imagine. I know we've had situations where it's like, oh man, like, we're living in the middle of the Midwest, things are fine, but like when the power goes out for multiple days and your food just rots and spoils, like, well, what are you going to do? Like, that's money out of your pocket. Like, you got to recuperate that. And even so, you can't, because your refrigerator's still out, your electricity's still out. So I totally understand the angst and the anger, because you're paying for this. It's not free. It's not like, it's for nothing. Like, they should have this shit up as soon as possible, right? That's just the energy. That's just the vibe. Let's see here. Was there anything else? No. I think we can kind of just keep it moving, keep it cruising. Let's see. The next one I got was from NPR. In a reversal, the education department is excluding many from student loan relief. So this is an update on the student loan forgiveness situation. It definitely puts a sour taste in my mouth. It seems like the administration's kind of doing a little bit of a back out, a little bit of a backpedal, if you will. Let's see. Let's read a little bit from the article to kind of help explain it. Let's see. And more or less, it's a change on the loans that are going to be accepted for the one-time relief. Essentially, up until the 29th of September, you were like able to do all kinds of debt relief. You were fine. It was good to go. But essentially, these federal family education loans, and then Perkins loans, which became privately. Let's see. They were issued and managed by private banks, but guaranteed by the federal government. They used to be a mainstay, but the program, but the FFEL program ended in 2010. So they still have these private banks or whatever, have these loans, and they're supposed to be making a profit over it. But because of the situation, they aren't standing to make said profit. And up until these lawsuits that were, coming up now, essentially the plan was, hey, you can get these converted into like a direct loan, federal loan or something like that, and that will be forgiven. You'll be fine. But now they're saying that they're not going to do that. Essentially, if you have this kind of loan, you're just shit out of luck. And that's fucked up. I think they said 800,000 people are going to be affected by that change. They try to play it down as like that's a small percentage, but nah, man. Like, if 800,000 borrowers are going to be affected by that, that's not a small number. I don't care what statistical percentage you throw at me. You can eat my ass. Like, nah, that's fucking fucked up. Let's see. There are roughly 1.5 million FFEL borrowers who also have direct loans, which still qualify for cancellation, though their FFEL loans no longer do. So those are people who I guess have like both, and only half now are going to be forgiven. So it's like, okay, cool, but like you just said that we were cool and I'm going to get this forgiveness. I'm already set now, and you're telling me no, you're not. Also, I obviously haven't really had to interact with this whole process, but I've imagined it's been probably pretty jammed up with everyone trying to get on and get it all worked out. So I would definitely ask any listeners, if you have any like interaction experience with this, please let me know. I would love to get your thoughts and put them out there for people to kind of hear who maybe aren't going through this and, would like to know more. I'm definitely one of those people who would like to know more for sure. But let me read, I guess, some more here. Here's a statement. Our goal is to provide relief. Our goal is to provide relief to as many eligible borrowers as quickly and easily as possible, and this will allow us to achieve that goal while we continue to explore additional legally available options to provide relief to borrowers with privately owned FFEL loans and Perkins loans, including whether FFEL borrowers could receive one-time debt relief without needing to consolidate. Borrowers with privately held federal student loans who apply to consolidate their loans into direct loans before September 29th, 2022 will obtain one-time debt relief. The FFEL program is now defunct and only a small percent of borrowers have FFEL loans. So, like I said, there's that instance of a small percentage of borrowers. Once again, I say that's bullshit. And a really key word there is the legally available part, because, like I said, people have come up to file lawsuits against, Joe Biden, which isn't a new thing. Presidents get sued. I know they sued Obama for some bullshit. The shit always kind of comes up and happens. Essentially, it's to pressure the administration to back off whatever the fuck they're doing. And in this situation, it seemingly is working. Let's see. Yeah, 6 state attorney generals filed a new lawsuit. One of the plaintiffs is Missouri, which is home of the Mohela, Mohela, which manages both federal direct loans and these old FFEL loan programs. Let's see. Let's do one more quote. The consolidation of the Mohela and the FFELP loans harms the entity by depriving it of an asset, the FFELP loans themselves, that it currently owns. And this is a statement from a complainant, it's from the complaint. The consolidation of the Mohela and the FFELP loans harms the entity by depriving it of the ongoing interest payments that these loans generate. So essentially they're saying you're fucking up our bag by trying to do this student loan forgiveness. It affects us and it cuts us out of money that we should be getting on the interest. And that's really fucking nasty that these companies give so much of a shit about that. But that's business, baby. That's capitalism. Let's see here. I'm stifling a sneeze. I got like the sniffles or something. I don't know. Hopefully I'm not like sick again or anything. Hopefully it's just a continuation of the minor shit. But bear with me. I'm sorry. Let's see. And some more international stuff. Obviously that was some U.S. specific, but we're going back to Afghanistan. Let's see. I got this from CNN. At least 25 dead after suicide bomb blast at educational center in Kabul. Let's see. 25 people were killed, and they were like mostly young women. I believe there were also some, younger boys as well, or maybe like, teacher students, whatever, or a teacher student. I'm not sure exactly how deep this was, but essentially this is took place on Friday at the Kaj Education Center. Essentially, I think it's kind of like almost like a private situation almost, if I'm not mistaken. Might be fully that. But the students were they were there to take a practice exam, and, someone came and they did a bombing, a blast, and, I believe like it was concentrated in this big room, and, it was just a whole mess. It was very terrible. Let's see. The emergency surgical center received 22 patients, including 20 women, according to a statement by a group Friday. 2 of those patients have died from, I guess the patients that came through there. The victims are all between 18 and 25 years old, and most of them were in the classroom to take an exam. One person was already dead on arrival, and another died after being admitted. Um, and essentially, I mean, no one has come to claim responsibility. Um, it's, potentially possible that this is like an ISIS-K situation, but, you know, um, maybe, a group will come and claim it, maybe not. But I mean, a lot of this just kind of comes from an energy that they feel that women shouldn't, they don't need this. They don't need to go and get an education to this level, to this degree. That they should just be at home and be doing what they're doing. And obviously, yet again, whenever I kind of come on these things, I try to be as trepidatious as possible, trying to speak beyond my own means and what I know in my own experience. Obviously, I do not know, or I've not lived this lifestyle. I've only lived a Christian American lifestyle. That's its own thing. But, it's sad. It's always a shame to hear that people want to take life from others to try to make their own religious point. That's never right. That's never okay. It's a shame that happens. Actually, it's a bit, I guess, too, in the next article we have coming up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to kind of talk about here. I don't think so. Kind of moving along. Let's see. The next one is from Reuters. Burkina Faso soldiers announce overthrow of military government. So this is, I'm not sure. It's been a while since we covered. Let me pull my nose. Excuse me. It's been a while since we covered it. If we did, I want to say it was definitely towards the end of January when it happened. But there was a coup in Burkina Faso, and actually, I know we did cover this because the only reason I know the Ouagadougou, where this, the area, the capital where this takes place, but essentially, Paul Henry Doumbia did a coup. Essentially, they had, a lot of Islamic terrorism, extremism that they were dealing with. They were trying to overcome, and it seemed like, the president at the time was not dealing with it, was not stepping up enough to handle it. So the military stepped in on him, and, he took power. Essentially, though, this week, the military again did another coup, only this was on Doumbia. And now, Dambia's whereabouts are, no one knows. He's in the wind. Now, this isn't in the article, but I heard this today from the BBC that Doumbia has issued a statement saying, like, hey, you guys need to stop this. Like, if you continue on this path, it's going to lead to a civil war. More or less, insinuating that there's going to be a potential counterstrike if you guys don't, pull out now and stop now. But they are looking for him now. Let's see. Burkina Faso's new leader is Army Captain Ibrahim Traore. In the picture, he's the man I have front and center on the podcast episode. And the group, essentially an armed group came through and they did this, public announcement that they were going to be taking power. Essentially, they also, I think elections have now been pushed. Democratic elections have now been pushed for 2 years till like 2024. But they are hoping that either a military leader or a civilian leader will be elected into power. So, we'll see how things kind of go from there. But let's see. The former president that Doumbia ousted was President Roche Kabore. But once again, for the same reason, it's just a lot of, and something I've kind of been learning and a little bit of my research and gathering is that a lot of, Islamic extremism, like, the Al-Qaeda and just Islamic State, ISIS, whatever, they make moves on areas where it's like, okay, we can potentially get a religious foothold here. And on top of that, more importantly, the government is weak. So if the government is weak, we can step in and be that force. And it doesn't matter how violent we are, whatever, our strong hand's going to rule in this area because they can't stop us. And, naturally, the people honestly, they were happy to see this coup because they're like, look, we don't want military rule, sure, but we want order. I mean, that's what everyone wants at the end of the day. I think that's something that people can really get lost on. Oh shit, and that actually reminds me something that fell through the cracks this week because I'm not going to be able to cover it. I mean, we've been so busy. I don't know if I feel like doing a leftovers episode, but I mean, you got the Meloni situation in Italy. She's a new prime minister, essentially very right wing. It's like neo fascism type shit. And, I've been scratching my head thinking, like, man, it's crazy. Like, they haven't had that kind of leadership since World War II and fucking Mussolini. How did we get here? And it's because none of the changes that have been made along the way did enough to make people feel secure and safe and that they were being prosperous as a country. And in those situations, you always wind up turning back to a very just decrepit way of governing, very decrepit way of leading. It doesn't matter. Like, no one wants a military junta in power, but if it keeps order, then that's what you'll take. So, I wanted to bring that up with the whole Italy thing because, like I said, I get the feeling I'm going to miss that in terms of news bumps, and that was big. But I think in some ways that it just kind of goes to show, like, we all have this utopian thought of what a good governance would be. I think a lot of people are like, yeah, we something democratic. Obviously, if you're, a leftist, whatever, you want something, like socialism. You want something very progressive at the very least, right? Yeah. But, the things on the right, the, conservative tactics and takes, they wind up coming through because a lot of people, it's easier to like land on those lizard brain behaviors of just like, we should keep people out. We should like control ourselves and like we should have a heavy hand to make sure that this doesn't go wrong or whatever and this stays right. And like next thing you know, you're policing how people live and think and feel and like, it's weird. I know I'm definitely in the weeds here. I'm over here splicing on articles and stuff, but I will definitely keep you posted. I'm definitely sure this situation in Burkina Faso is not done. Let's see here. And then we got the last article that I wanted to cover for the episode. I'm going to take my little break and then we'll hit it. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Got this last article from Reuters. Indonesia soccer stampede kills 125 after police use tear gas in stadium. So, really sad story of another stampede crush situation. Let's see, 125 people were killed. More than 320 people were injured. More or less, the home team, they lost, and immediately people hit the pitch, and they were just on the field, going crazy, like upset, mad. Now, that's obviously bad. That's not the start of a good situation. That's chaotic. That's bad. That needs to be contained. That needs to be, quelled. I get that. But essentially, where the crush winds up happening, is when the cops start using tear gas, and then there are people who are now trying to disperse, and in all of the chaos, you can't move, you can't leave, but everyone's massed out at the exits, and they're all trying to run towards the exits, and that's chaotic. That's going to lead to more death, and I believe that was kind of like the main part of that, how it got so bad. Also, it was also in a overcrowded stadium, I should say. I think they had about 42, 100 people there, 100,000 people. You guys know I'm bad with numbers, but I believe that the stadium was only able to contain 38,000. Okay, wow. I'm sorry, guys. My bad. I just came off this break, so my bad. 42 42,000. Yeah, there we go. 42,000. And the stadium was only supposed to be able to hold 38,000. So that's way too many people. Like, you got way too many tickets for too little seats. That's a bad disaster right there. Let's see. They also have some other examples in the article, of other, like, bad, soccer situations. I'm saying soccer because I'm an American, and I feel like if I say football, people are going to think I'm talking about pigskin football, Brett Favre scan football. It's not that one. It's kickball. Not kickball, but soccer. You kicking the ball. But let's see. Oh, I didn't know this. Indonesia is scheduled to host the FIFA Under 20 World Cup. That's not as spectacular as just the World Cup, but whatever. There you go. That's a fun fact I'll leave you with there. Let's see. That's more or less all I have. Like I said, I don't think I'm gonna do a leftovers episode, but might give you a little rundown of some headlines I found. Kind of give you a little quick blitz, if you will. Because there was definitely some ones that caught my attention. Oh, this is a big one. We can kind of quickly just run through real quick. Venezuela swaps 7 jailed Americans for Maduro relatives. This is from the Associated Press. Essentially, this was another one of our big moves, like from the Biden administration, to kind of show, hey, we are really trying to get people who are locked up abroad and bring people home, like where they're supposed to be. And these 7 Americans, I believe, are like execs for like some kind of oil company. They were called in, and the Venezuelan, authorities or whatever were there, and they arrested them. And I don't really have the details. Like I said, I haven't really gotten into the guts of the situation of this article specifically. This is just kind of what I've heard and gleaned. But the Maduro relatives was essentially the first lady's. I think they were like his nephew. They're her nephews or something like that, like siblings or I don't know, family. And so they were made in a swap. So that was some big news that I guess I am not covering this week. There you go. Gosh, this was a real one that caught my attention. Once I kind of got into the details, I understood why I didn't make more headlines. True Crime Daily covered this one. Seattle man convicted after 24 body parts, including 5 human heads, scattered in Arizona. And please kind of look at this, because this dude looks like a guy who might do, I feel that's fucked up to maybe say, but man, his nostrils are flared here. He's got these like steely, like blue eyes. I feel like he would just scatter a body. Now the title is kind of clickbaity in my opinion, because then I guess when you get into it, I think these are parts that like they're like from a medical institution. So they were supposed to be for educational and research purposes, and he was just more or less desecrating these bodies, just doing whatever he wanted with them. And yeah, that's fucked up. So that was one that kind of didn't quite make the main episode. I wanted to talk about that. We did talk about the CEOs though. Trying to get their people to work in the middle of a fucking hurricane. That's awesome. This is a good one. This is like Scam God, like hella. I couldn't believe this person got 11 years, but let's see. Married Chinese man cons 39 people out of $78,000 in romance scam using photos of Southern Korean men, of attractive Southern Korean men. So he like would pose as like a doctor and like go on these like romantic tryst dates things, what have you, I guess. And they gave him 11 years for that when it was all said and done. I guess like women connected the dots, got together, and they're like, nah, we're gonna gatekeep this motherfucker. I don't know. They girl bossed him. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like I've heard parts of this story in parts and parcel as it's kind of taken place. But actually, like, seeing the verdict was like, wow. But yeah, he definitely was like catfishing hard, trying to just get what he could out of this shit, really milking it. And I mean, obviously, you shouldn't do that. That's fucked up. You should be your genuine, authentic self as best as you fucking can when you're online. I'm not saying that you list all your painful insecurities and flaws and faults, but you just be yourself. You should just be the person in that picture that you post. You know what I mean? Like, just stuff like that. You know, when you're on the scene, just be you. I don't know. I mean, obviously, don't take too much dating advice from me, single guy living alone in his house, but your apartment. But you know what I mean. Like, at the end of the day, I think that is the best shot you got is to just be you and be real. And that way you won't get an 11-year prison sentence. But I mean, my man took it too far. I mean, he was securing a big bag. And then this is the last one because I'm definitely sad I didn't get to cover this in the main. I'm sorry for this super loosey goosey way of covering some shit. But this was from Yahoo News and the Associated Press. I actually got to watch it happen because they had the live coverage. But bam! NASA spacecraft crashes into asteroid in defense test. Now, essentially, this was something out of like a movie. It was like Armageddon 2. Essentially, instead of sending a bunch of coal miners or whatever to like drill and make an explosion, they crashed a whole spacecraft in to like change the trajectory of this like asteroid just a little bit. And essentially doing this kind of stuff was like, this was an asteroid that potentially could have hit us or something like that. I think maybe this is like scientifically hypothetical stuff that they were kind of running through, and they wanted to run this model like, okay, this is a perfect model to kind of test for this experiment. And they did it, and it was crazy to see this camera of this asteroid. It's getting closer, it's getting closer, it's getting closer. They shoot to NASA, and they're like, they're telling you the situation, they're giving you the skinny, and then it hits, and they're like, whoa, ah, and then it's like, and that was more or less it. But it's just crazy that that we're living in times where we're literally making those kind of things happen. But it does make you think, man, we could literally just get wiped off the face of the map. Not even like the Earth could just be boop, poof, just gone. Big Bang 2, like more than the dinosaurs this time. I don't know. There was some wild shit. And yeah, I think that's where I'm gonna leave you guys. Thank you for sticking along for the ride. I know this is a little bit of an extended cut, if you will, little sloppy ends on there. But yeah, this is the shill mode. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. If you'd like to help support the podcast, every $5 donation will get you Discord access. It'll get you a name shout out on the pod. You'll officially be a newsie. And let's see. I will also cover whatever you'd like. Like if there's like a specific thing you'd like to talk about or want to see, like, hey, I got this little kitschy story I heard and I wanted you to talk about it. I'll do that. That's in my bag to do. So all for the low price of $5. Let's see. Free way though to contact me, IsaiahNews.com, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. And I am on all the socials that you probably use, unless you're on Truth, because I don't do that shit. But pretty much like everywhere else, you can find me or you can find the podcast, and I am always available to talk. I always got time, and if not, I'll make time. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.